Open the shopping application on your phone right now. A digital cart completely stuffed with items. Dozens of flashing discount codes. Thousands of vibrant product recommendations scrolling endlessly right beneath your thumb. But your ancestors had absolutely none of that. And they routinely had to walk continuously for 14 grueling hours across hostile terrain just to find the caloric equivalent of a single modern biscuit. Why is your bedroom overflowing with brown delivery packages that have never even been opened? To find the exact answer, go back 30,000 years. A fog-choked freezing valley in northern Europe, bitter wind cutting mercilessly through the air, and a cracked shivering hand frantically burying a handful of dried seeds under the thick roots of an ancient oak tree. The woman kneels heavily on the damp freezing earth, using a sharpened wooden stick to violently tear through the rotting layers of fallen leaves. She carefully gathers a tight cluster of fibrous plant roots still thick with heavy mud and a few sharp, jagged flint flakes broken off from the distant cave wall. Instead of carrying them straight back to the rock shelter to use immediately for warmth, she wraps them tightly in a stiff piece of animal hide and buries them deep into the wet clay beneath a massive gray boulder. The future was always an expanse of absolute terrifying uncertainty. Primal resource density was incredibly and dangerously sparse, demanding that early humans travel on foot for weeks on end, silently tracking the faint, unpredictable trails of scattered nuts, torn animal skins, and rare flint across vast, unforgiving territories. That relentless daily journey of gathering consumed thousands of precious calories, forcing the human brain to evolve an incredibly powerful chemical reward system just to convince the exhausted physical body to keep walking even when its feet were bleeding. The desperate behavior of finding a good tool and violently hiding it away in the dirt was the razor-thin biological boundary between a family surviving a brutal winter and a family slowly starving to death in the snow. That is pure survival instinct. In 2004, cognitive scientist Stephanie Preston at the University of Michigan placed people with severe clinical hoarding tendencies inside giant magnetic resonance brain scanners. She asked them to simply lie perfectly still in the dark tube and imagine the emotional act of sorting, keeping, or throwing away their own old useless personal belongings. The deep neural architecture controlling this intense gathering behavior violently activated the dopamine reward system in the midbrain, lighting up across the glowing scanner screen exactly like the brain of a wild squirrel when it bites down hard on a fresh acorn to hide it beneath the soil before the winter snow falls. Dopamine, the brain's primary and most powerful chemical messenger, is not the chemical of satisfied, peaceful pleasure. It is the chemical of aggressive anticipation, a biological spark plug explicitly designed by evolution to keep you desperately hungry for new resources regardless of your physical exhaustion. When you scroll past a heavily discounted item online and hit the bright checkout button, your ancient brain releases the exact same potent reward chemical as when your hunting ancestors stumbled upon a hidden untouched bush of ripe wild berries that no one else in the tribe had yet discovered. This ancient biological process does not care at all about the useless plastic or fabric object itself. The biological joy lives entirely inside the physical process of gathering. A cardboard-wrapped package is quickly delivered right to your front door amidst the blaring chaotic horns of modern city traffic. You rip the thick packing tape apart with your bare hands, experiencing an intense, intoxicating rush of pure euphoria running violently down your spine for exactly 5 short seconds. 1 week later, that exact same plastic item sits quietly gathering dust in the dark corner of your bedroom, completely forgotten among dozens of other stacked cardboard boxes waiting patiently to be thrown away into the garbage. Every single useless thing you are currently stockpiling inside your house, the synthetic clothes with paper tags still attached, the expensive running shoes that have never touched real dirt, the complex kitchen gadgets that will never once be plugged into a wall, is actually an ancient resource-gathering instinct going absolutely insane inside an environment of excessive unnatural abundance. Modern resource density miraculously allows heavy physical objects to appear on your wooden doorstep in 24 hours with a single gentle tap of your glass screen. But your physical body has not evolved fast enough to actually comprehend that endless magical surplus. You swipe mindlessly through infinite shopping websites in a complete silent trance, your tired eyes scanning rapidly across thousands of brilliantly colored product images, your thumb continuously scrolling the glowing screen down from 1 hour to the next without ever hitting a natural stopping point. You are not shopping, you are foraging. Look at the dense, dry, wild bush of Tanzania right now. The Hadza tribe, one of the very last true functioning hunter-gatherer societies remaining on the entire planet, walks steadily and quietly through the sharp thorn bushes under a blistering, unforgiving midday sun. A barefoot man suddenly stops his long stride, looks straight up into the high branches of a massive ancient baobab tree, and spots a cracked wild beehive dripping with dark, incredibly calorie-dense liquid. He climbs up the rough, scraping bark, using only his bare hands and feet, brushes the aggressively swarming and stinging bees aside without flinching, scrapes out thick, heavy chunks of golden honey-soaked wax, and begins chewing it hungrily right there on the wooden branch. 15% of their entire daily caloric intake comes directly from tracking wild honey, while the vast majority of the rest comes from continuous, exhausting hunting and foraging across the parched, dusty landscape. They consume those precious calories immediately, share the sticky wax generously with their walking companions on the ground, and then climb back down to the dirt to instantly continue their endless daily search for survival. No permanent storage huts are ever built in the brush, and no heavy clay jars are ever filled with excess honey to be nervously hidden away for the unpredictable rainy months ahead. The Hadza tribe is not currently trapped in an exhausting anxiety loop about a deprived, terrifying future, because their natural daily scarcity is constantly and permanently solved by the physical act of direct, relentless searching in the present moment. The ancient survival foraging mechanism, e-commerce retail platforms, infinite scrolling recommendation algorithms, and the aggressive flashing countdown timers of holiday flash sales. Massive global technology corporations engineered the endless, frictionless product carousels on your phone screen to precisely and mathematically mimic the physical sensation of walking slowly through a dense, unpredictable forest, where every flick of your thumb is a brand new chance to turn over a virtual leaf and find a hidden digital berry. They inject bright red, glowing text warning you that only 2 fragile items remain in the digital warehouse, directly and intentionally triggering the ancient threat monitoring system in your amygdala, forcing you to act instantly and aggressively before another unseen human steals your precious limited resources. The one-click checkout system is highly optimized to eliminate all natural physical friction, denying your panicked brain the vital time to stop and rationally consider whether the item is actually necessary for survival or just a clever digital mirage. The infinite screen scroll completely removes the natural biological stopping cue naturally present in every single physical human activity, successfully turning the ancient hunt into an eternal, inescapable loop with absolutely no finish line. The massive global retail industry didn't somehow magically create the modern human's destructive habit of mindless, endless accumulation. They spent billions of dollars and decades of time studying the very oldest, most vulnerable parts of your primate brain and built bright shopping interfaces to fit exactly what they successfully found hiding there. We currently live in heavily fortified, secure apartments, perfectly heated against the winter wind and comfortably surrounded by enough stored cheap calories to last an entire decade without stepping outside. But deep down inside the dark bone of your skull, a primitive, exhausted human is still shivering in absolute terror at the rapidly approaching winter, desperately and blindly snatching up every physical object they can manage to hold in their frantic hands. Your ancient ancestors hoarded sharp shards of broken flint entirely because they actually physically needed them to avoid freezing to death in a lonely, snow-covered, brutal valley. You constantly fill your modern house with brown boxes of completely worthless items, not because you are a fundamentally greedy or broken person. You do it solely because the ancient primate brain trapped inside you is still absolutely convinced that someday, very soon, all of these magnificent steel forests are going to burn straight to the ground.